So greetings, my golden friends. We have another episode from Belarus, and we also have Regina joining us today. Again, this is our second time. And the topic that she was pitching for today, it's healing, like on a deep level. How can we heal? And also, we're going to talk about some other issues. So Regina, welcome back. So good to see you.
Hi. Yeah, great to be here. Thank you so much.
So first of all, I want to start with this healing topic. It's we're going to talk about some negativity, like what makes us sick, and then we're going to finish with solutions. What can we do to get better? So first of all, I want to thank you so much on the behalf of your children, because I've heard from you a few weeks ago that you did not vaccinate them. Like that's, considering from all the shenanigans even before, that's a huge help. And they're going to thank you when they grow older and they're going to really understand what is going on Earth, that you have done your best not to give them any from the outside, which is everything attacks us from the outside, through the food, through the water, through the anything that we touch or inhale. That's the toxins that we can be attacked by. And if it's too much, we get sick. If it's attacked for too long, we get sick. Our liver, our pancreas, they can clean the body. Too much for too long, then we can get sick. So I'm going to give you time to say what's on your mind right now. Like, what do you think makes us sick the most on Earth right now? And then we'll talk about solutions later.
Great. Well, thank you. Yeah. In terms of vaccines, my daughter, actually, she's 10. She just turned 10 a few weeks ago. I was just on the journey. I was skeptical about vaccines and did decide she got 2 vaccines, actually, not in the hospital. In the hospital, it was nothing. None of the drops in the eyes, no vaccines, none of the things that it normally comes, when a child first comes out into the world, and we start poking them and blinding them with things in their eyes and, all these horrible things that we do to our children the second they're born into the world.
Right.
She didn't get any of that. But then within, I would say she was about 10 months, 11 months old, she got 1 shot. I think it was for pneumonia, one of those. The doctor kind of talked us into it. And we did 1 shot. They wanted to do a whole battery of them, and I was like, no, we'll do this one. I'm going to do kind of a reduced schedule and take our time. And she reacted, it was okay. She didn't do great. The second one, maybe a month later, again, they're like, okay, well, we got 6 or 7 shots lined up. And I was like, no, we're doing a, delayed schedule, reduced schedule. We gave her 1. And she screamed for hours. And you hear this from a lot of different parents, so many different parents. And doctors are just like, well, give her some Tylenol. It's a normal reaction. Like, I live with my daughter all day, every day. I know what her reactions are. This is not a normal reaction for a child to be screaming in pain, inconsolable for hours at a time. And I was done, and never again. And then my son was born a little less than 3 years later, 2.5 years later, and he's got none, 0. And so that was the end of it. That was the thing. So we were very definitely not going to vaccinate on the okay, here's 7 shots at 1 month, and here's another 12 shots at 2 months. And, by 2 years old, they've got 60, 70 shots. And by the second one, we were like, no, it's not worth it. There's something wrong with this. And luckily, there have been no long-term side effects just to those 2. I do know parents who were kind of in that same camp, like, we'll do this, we'll do a delayed schedule. We'll give, 1 or 2 at a time, see how it goes. And the consequences were still catastrophic with their children. So I'm grateful we learned that lesson with no real ill effects other than a few hours, 1 day of screaming. And that was, okay, I got it. This is not going to happen again.
So how is the health of your family and your neighborhood, your friends are perfect? Good.
Perfect. Yeah.
And tell me, in your mindset right now, what do you think makes people sick the most, in your opinion?
Our thoughts.
Our thoughts.
Honestly,
Negative
our
thoughts.
Yeah, I think. Well, here's the thing. I think there's a lot of talk, and we can get more into this at another time. But there's a lot of talk right now about The Matrix. The new movie came out, and the mass
Have you
psychosis
seen it?
formation and all the things. I have not. I have
Okay.
not. I want to. I
I
will at some point. And just to mention the irony of seeing pictures of people with their masks on and showing their vaccine passports on their phones to go see
right.
Matrix 4. I'm like, does anybody else see the irony of that? But no, I think I'll get to it at some point. I'm not in a huge rush. But
Mhm.
and so that brings up the question, what is a matrix? And this, to answer your question about what makes us sick, I feel like the matrix is a mind program that's imposed on us from outside.
Right.
And that mind program is not one of you are a divine creator in this world who can manifest. We're not told that from a young age, that our thoughts create our actions, right? And from there, we can create the world that we want.
Mhm.
Instead, the mind program that is installed at us from a very young age is don't question, don't think too much, regurgitate
Mhm.
information, when you're in school. And you look around at all the advertising, it's you're not complete, you're not good enough, you'll never be happy unless you get the car, the makeup, the clothes, the money in the bank account, the right size body, the bigger boobs, the wider chest, whatever it is. There's all of these negative implants,
Right.
that
Thought
are put
implants.
into us, thought implants.
Yep.
And that to me is what the matrix is that negative programming, and it's designed to specifically disconnect us from our true nature,
Mhm.
right? Because if
Absolutely.
you're always worried about getting approval, right? If you're always looking for approval, acknowledgement, appreciation from outside of yourself, that's
Yeah.
important. We're
Yeah.
humans. We need that human contact. We need other people to say, hey, I love you. You're doing great. And we also need to be able to have it from inside, and it's, I often talk about, I have friends who will say things about themselves, and I'd say, my daughter's name is Grace. I say, would you say that to
Oh,
Grace,
it's
what you just
beautiful.
said about yourself? And they'll say, oh my God, no, I would never say that to her. I'm like, well, don't say that to yourself. And they go,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
If you wouldn't say
Absolutely.
it to a child, and that's a really good way, and we can get into this into the solutions section, is starting to pay attention to our thoughts and beliefs and how
Yeah.
that affects our actions, because our day-to-day actions are our habits, and our habits create our life.
Treat each other as we are, as precious as children. That's a good one. As precious as
Mm-hmm.
children. Each one of us, adults, to be as precious as children. Talk to each other, not a childish way,
No, no, no,
but
no, 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 no. Yeah,
you know, treat each other.
you
By
can
the way,
do it. You'll learn. You'll get it.
by the
If
way,
you're
you
not where you want
triggered
to be
me.
right now.
You triggered me. I remember. I'm not sure who said the phrase, but somebody said, "If you find yourself on the side of the majority, it is us think, reflect, and maybe reconsider." So
Mm-hmm.
when you were saying that
Yeah.
everybody, oh, you're doing great, when everybody's applauding, you're like, wait a minute, if everybody is applauding to my actions, maybe
Mm-hmm.
it's time to reflect and rethink, because the humanity is probably walking towards off cliff, it just walking to
Mm-hmm.
dive off cliff, and everybody's suicidal lately. So if everybody is like, oh great, you're doing great,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's time to think and reflect and maybe reconsider.
Well, that's that saying of being or fitting into a profoundly sick society is not a sign of health.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're just going along to get along and, go to work and then come home and watch the shows so that you can talk to people about your favorite show the next day, like there's, I think that's a big piece of what makes us sick. And I think one of the things you mentioned, suicide, another huge one is something like depression. And I
Yeah.
think there are absolutely physical reasons for depression. We can talk about the food, the water, the air,
Well,
etc. But
depression is emotions. Thought
well, that's what I was
comes
going to say.
first.
It's a
Thought comes
spiritual
first, and then
sickness.
emotions secondary. So if we are buying these thoughts
Yep.
from Hollywood movies, cartoons from Disney, and all the propaganda around us,
Yep.
those thoughts become our feelings. And we are right now surrounded by these dirty waters of negative emotions and negative
Mm-hmm.
thoughts in plants as
Mm-hmm.
well. And by the way, today I was meditating during the lunchtime, and I thought about our conversation. what should we say? And for some reason, this interesting thought came up to me. Like, I would like your opinion and maybe feeling. Like, for example, we live in this society right now that somebody, for example, it's a silly example probably, but this just came up to my mind. So, somebody get attacked by an alligator, and the alligator is gently chewing the leg. It's chewing the leg, and the person, to deal with this issue, just takes the painkiller pill and swallows and just drinks water, not to feel pain, but the alligator is still chewing on the leg. We had to get down to the issue, like, who is causing this pain? Like, we have to get rid of all this stuff that it's poisonous toxins, not just popping pills. That was my interesting thought.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it, and I love that. I love that idea of like an alligator kind of gently chewing. It's a fun
mosquito,
visual.
Mosquito is gently sucking blood.
Yeah, and they're going to keep doing it. But I think that there's so much about that we go into. It's a lot of people want to go for the if not the painkiller, which we do, right? A lot of people just say, well, I got to keep going, got to go to work. I'll take the cold medication. I'll take, I'll take the antidepressants. I'll do all these things. Just give me the pill. I don't want to think about it. And really, it's easy to go into the place of victim mentality. Like, this is being done to us from outside. Our water is poisoned. Our food is poisoned. Our air is poisoned. And to say, what can we do about it? I got to take the pills, right? Because I don't have any other choices. And I think one of the best things that we can do is take that responsibility for ourselves and start the process. And it could take time. We've been in this toxic soup for decades.
Oh yeah.
So it's not, you're not going to turn it around like that. And that sense of immediate instant gratification is another big part of the sickness. I want it now. And as soon as it's gone, I want something else. Right. That short attention span. Whereas the real healing takes a while.
Right. I'm going to throw something else at you. Another thought, an idea, which is very interesting, connected to most people in the United States, not all of them, but most people have Apple phone. And what's interesting, on the back of the Apple phone, there's an apple bitten. It's not eaten completely. They don't want to kill us, but they want to bite us.
Yeah.
And if you look at the apple, it's actually a toroidal field, which is our heart emanates. Our heart is magnetic. The brain is electric, heart is magnetic. So the energy from above comes in, and then below comes out, comes in from above and comes out. So it's an eternal engine. The heart is supposed to be eternal engine that is powering the whole house, the whole body, but it's been bitten. Every time we use technology, it's actually stealing our auric field. I always show my plug-in, because here in Belarus, they use 220 volts, even worse than United States, 110. So when I landed in Belarus, I was like, holy moly, it's such a low vibration, because everybody is using 220. All the walls are wired with this electricity, which is steals our, if you put the fingers, like child comes to the outlet and puts fingers into it, it zaps and sometimes children can die because it takes life force energy away. Auric field, it sucks it dry. But if you put the TV on, or screen, or laptop, or any kind of device, it's just spreads this deadly energy more smoothly. It's a soft kill. They just bite you like an apple. It bites you, but it doesn't really kill you like instantaneously, because if it was, everybody would wake up and stop using these devices. But right now, somebody told me, I'm not sure if it's correct or not correct, but somebody told me that the first flu and cold started when the radio started. So the radio waves were penetrating our body. Then it got worse when the TV station started. Then it got worse when the Wi-Fi, the 5G, cell phone towers. We have been penetrated by all these waves through our body. So it makes us sick. It bites and bites and bites into us. So what do you think of that?
Oh, I think that's absolutely true. And I think Dependency, that's another one that brings us to that point of, well, there's a lot of pieces, brings us to that point of short attention spans, so we can't focus, right? And that's the rise of ADD. And everything needs to get bigger and faster and more shocking to keep our attention, whether it's ads or TV shows or video games, or movies, whatever it is. They have to keep upping the ante. And then, of course, you know, you talk about the electricity and the literal electromagnetic frequencies that are coming off of these devices is huge. You know, as we were talking about before we started, my last broadcast, if anybody saw that, it was bad, right? Because I was trying to use Wi-Fi and it was far away. And now I've got an Ethernet cable, and this is rock solid. Yeah, and so here's the thing. I bought an Ethernet cable off of Amazon for 20 bucks. It's 100 feet long, which is more than I need, but I was like, well, I'll just have it because my studio where I'm filming this is pretty far, right, from where the Wi-Fi is in the house, the internet. And so you can get anywhere from a 3-foot, maybe a 2-foot cable up to 100 feet, probably more, for 20 bucks on Amazon.
Wow.
Now, Amazon, maybe not feeding the beast. You know, you can find other places as well. Do your research, and there's lots of places where you can buy Ethernet cables. But I'm so glad I did it. And now I'm not going to have the Wi-Fi coming at me and frying the cells of my body.
Yep, and the speed is much faster. The speed is much faster. The speed
is so much faster. And by the way, it's far more secure. So that's another thing. So many people have their smart devices. And so you've got a lot of information smart devices are everything these days. I tried to buy some new, just even a couple of years ago, I was buying a new washer and dryer. And it was hard to find one that wasn't smart enabled. Like I don't need to like be at work on my phone telling my washing machine to do something. I can press a button at home. It's not that big a deal.
Wow.
You know? And so, but the point of that is with all the smart devices, refrigerators, washer and dryer, TVs, everything, your security systems, fire alarm systems, all of that is getting your data, right? It's data mining. And that makes you more vulnerable because the more data that's out there about you, the more that somebody can hack into your information. Wow. And more identity theft, lots more problems. And that also is a big part of the transhumanist movement.
Yeah,
is the data mining.
You just triggered me, if I can interrupt you for a second. You just triggered me. I remember listening to, which is I don't agree completely with everything that she says, but still very interesting lady, Barbara Marciniak. She's from North Carolina, and she supposedly channeling Pleiadians, but she had a lot of interesting stuff. And I was like listening to her, like she's like, we come from the future into your past to warn you that this tyranny is happening in your place. And we had to deal with it like later on. So we want you to stop it, because if you don't stop it now, right now, she said, you still can turn off your cell phones and turn off your TV. But there will be a time in the future, you might not be able to turn off these devices. They will be completely like, and I thought to myself, and I've been actually questioning this young generation, teenagers in my town, like, what if they would offer you to install cell phone into your head, into your brain? And I was so shocked and surprised because everybody was like, yeah, I'll do that. I was like, what?
Can't wait.
Yeah, they can't wait. I was like, really? I was like, yeah, well, what if your boss is calling you at 3 o'clock at night? Oh, I'll just mute it. So they are so...
If you can.
Right. They don't understand this technology. Once it's inside of you, you cannot take it out of you. It's in, and if it's on, you cannot turn it off. It's like, oh my God. So what do you think of that, Regina?
I think that's absolutely coming. And that's a big part of the mind program that's been implanted, is that we've been, again, disconnected from our true nature. So we have been really sold on the idea, and I have to say, not even sold. So many people have bought it wholesale. The idea that we need implants, we need genetic technology, we need our DNA reconstructed and modified, and all of these things, because we are, again, back to that idea of we're not good enough. right? We're not enough as we are. And if you have any kind of faults, any kind of problems, any kind of things that make you feel less secure or less important, there's going to be a pill or a surgery or an implant or a genetic modification to fix it. And rather than being reminded that actually being human is being imperfect, and that's actually a good thing, right? Because that's where we learn and grow. That's how we connect with each other. If you think about the people in your life who you love, right, really love, family members, friends, whatever it is, do you look at them and say, I love them because they're perfect? I love that person. And I mean, try turning it on yourself. You know, how many people can even really say that I love myself? But let's start with outside of ourselves. I love my daughter, I love my son because they're perfect, because they get straight A's in school. I love them because they are excellent piano players and they never miss a beat. They never miss a note, right? That's not what we say. We say, no, I love them because they're funny and quirky. I love them for their, you know, interesting ways. And what they're trying to do, the transhumanists, is turn us all into these Borgs who are going to
Similar.
be
It's like communism, you know, that was a dream.
exactly.
Communist, everybody's same salary, everybody thinks the same, everybody smiles at the same jokes and stuff like that. And you just triggered me with a DNA. That's my, you know, personal belief that we've been triggered, we've been messed in the past. Our generations, thousands and thousands of years ago, they actually made that 95% of our DNA sleeping. So we are supposed to reach the full potential. And I think right now we are opening up like flowers blooming, and they're trying to throw everything at us, because just the chemtrails cannot do the job. They cannot do the trick. They have to be poison in the food, in the water, in every aspect. So they throw so much dirt at us, and we are still blooming, we're still awakening, and many people are still reaching the full potential, you know, at this level. And I think it will progress. I think they know they're gonna lose. But they have to continue doing what they do. It's a survival technique, because once most of the people wake up, we're gonna win. We are gonna win this war.
Well, I agree with that 100%. I think a few things is, first of all, whoever they are, right? We can talk about that a lot.
I like to say robotoids.
Robotoids. I call them the parasites, right? Because they're literally sucking our lifeblood. So robotoids, parasites, either way.
Apple biters.
Apple biters. They know what we're capable of.
Right.
They know who we really are, and that's why they are working so hard to keep us down. And they're not succeeding. And I think another point is, you know, to go back to technology and getting implants and such, how advanced is it? How advanced of a society are we that we have in the palm of our hands? And I have one, I have an iPhone and I use it. I try to use it as a tool and not let it use me. I can't say I always succeed, but I am aware of it and doing my best, and maybe someday I'll give it up. But for now I have one. We have this computing power in the palm of our hands that is beyond comprehension for most people who use it. And what do we use it for the most? Watching cat videos on YouTube, TikTok videos, you know, playing solitaire on our phone, when we have the computing power of how, like, there was even 5 years ago, completely unattainable, unimaginable. Is that really so advanced? Or is the advanced technology right here in our own brain already, right here in this third eye, that allows us to travel the cosmos at the drop of a hat, because we know who we are and what we're really connected to. And we can do things with our bodies that could make, you know, the greatest gymnast look like slow and slow and stiff. You know, we have this capability, but it's been stolen from us.
We've been locked in this DNA problem. And when I speak to some of my friends here in town who work for the government, like, we have this huge building and it's all governmental workers. All they do, they sit in front of the computers, all of them. right?
Yep.
And when I
Yep.
tell them, just imagine, like, just think outside of the box, that you think that you in control of AI, like they think they type in these letters, move in the mouse, because that's all they do, type in the keyboard and move in the
Yeah.
mouse.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, and I'm telling them, control of AI, or AI is controlling you, what you are doing. They don't even want to think that. The ego is like, oh no,
Totally.
it's I am in control of this computer. I am putting the data, because I'm like, the AI, it's so smart and so advanced. It can do all your work, all of you guys, hundreds of people in this office cubicles. It doesn't need you guys. All it does is constantly polluting your third eye, your brain, with the frequency that is coming from the screen. It wants you dead, but it doesn't want you dead like now. It wants you slowly dead. And
it doesn't want
they
you
don't
physically
understand.
dead. It wants us emotionally dead, emotionally and mentally dead, so that we don't think or question.
Yeah. So I think we covered most of the things that I want to. LED bulbs, I think it bothers me so much. Like, I don't have any LED bulbs in my apartment, but when I visit other places, everybody is so like, oh, LED bulbs saving energy. And I feel like it's like so invasive into my eyes, and I feel it like sometimes in my skin. Like, I was like, guys, just because it's safe, it doesn't mean it's good for you. People don't get it. This new technology of LED bulbs is also very, very sinister. And of course, people are driving cars. I always tell people, please find the passengers, if you can, to drive less or have many people in one car. No, I live in a small town. You can walk through the whole town in 40 minutes. I don't have a car, but so many people have cars. They drive to the store, they drive to work. You can walk. Just wake up earlier. You can 40 minutes. It's not a big deal, but everybody have to have a car now. So I think
they have to spend their 8 hours a day doing this in front of the computer. They don't have time to walk, because then after doing this all day in front of the computer,
to give
they
them
have
a
to come home and
credit,
relax.
they've been bitten, like Apple's been bitten all day long, 8 hours in front of the computer. They feel
very
tired.
draining.
So you get another car, the cab, the taxi, or your own taxi, to drive your body home. So we are surrounded by the machines. People don't understand that we've been surrounded by the machines, and now they're gonna take away the right to drive, because cars will be self-driven. You're not gonna have a say where to go. It's gonna take you to your work or to the hospital. And if you're gonna say, 100%. I want to go to the forest, the people up there are gonna say, oh, you're not allowed to go to the forest. Fresh air, no. No way, Jose.
You're not good for the forest, is what the thing is. They say that we're dangerous for nature. We're bad for nature, so we have to be separated from it.
So if you think of any other topics that the negative things are making us sick, I think we covered a lot, like medicine, the electric tools and stuff. If you know something else, I think we covered pretty much everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could just go on and on. We haven't even really touched on the food and what they've done to the food, but I think at this point, most people who are going to be watching
solutions.
A show like this are already going to be aware of the problems. So yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So let's go into solutions. What can we do in this crazy reality at this point to keep ourselves healthy, happy? I'm always like, we have to smile when we talk about dark topics. We cannot be like, oh, it's all so bad. Like, I mean, just smile. And no matter what they do to us, we have to be happy. Emotions up, thoughts up, and that's how we're gonna win. Being unpredictable, changing the routes, going to different stores for different foods. Like recently, I started to juice a lot. That's my reality. Carrot and apple, because that's something local here in Belarus. It's very, very cheap. Carrot juice with apples, and I buy local stuff at the farm market. So what do you do with food in your area? Like, what do you like the most recently to keep your body vibrant?
Yeah. Well, I'm very fortunate to live in a place where we have local farms that I can get really high quality produce and dairy and eggs and meat as well. I won't eat it from any kind of the confined animal feeding operations, the huge feedlots.
Mm-hmm.
I won't touch that meat. But I do from a local farm. Some of these animals have better lives than some people I know.
Oh,
They're really well cared for.
that's good.
And there was a time I have been vegan,
Okay.
and I've been very aware of nutrition and
Mm-hmm.
how to eat. And I did not do well on a vegan diet. I tried it for years,
Okay.
and I don't think that veganism is necessarily the best for everyone. I think there's a huge push toward veganism now. And
Mm-hmm.
any time that there's an agenda behind something, it makes me go, well, why are they doing that?
Right.
Because they want to keep the meat and the protein for themselves. The apple biters are going to be biting the meat, and they want to keep us eating bugs and lab grown poison,
Yeah, I've heard that.
right? And
That's sinister.
yeah, yeah. And so I don't eat a lot of meat, but definitely, especially for growing children, I feel like it's really important for them to have that quality of protein.
Mm-hmm.
We grow a garden, and so from there, I grow so much good food. I love seeing my kids out first thing in the morning in June and July, and they're just in the peas. Like the peas are so tall, you can't even see their little blonde heads, and they're just sitting there like gorging themselves on fresh peas, and
Nice.
strawberries and
And
carrots,
peas,
and there's
it's a source of
blueberries.
protein. Peas are the source of
It's a
protein.
great, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a great protein. And there's even in small areas, you can grow some of your own food. If you have a sunny window or a back porch or whatever, you can grow some of your own food, and it makes a difference. The life force and the energy
Yeah, I have
is so
basil.
different.
Basil year
Yeah.
round at the kitchen window, like a
Hmm.
big tray of basil. It's something I picked, and I decided I'm going to do basil. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. And it's possible. Anybody who wants to put the time and energy, but it that becomes part of the empowering yourself to do something. And
Yeah.
that goes back to having the self-esteem and self-worth to say, I want better for myself.
Nice.
And rather than saying, well, I just, after sitting on the keyboard all day, I come home and I'm tired and I need to relax and just open a bag of chips.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't serve your higher energy. That doesn't get you to a place of feeling better. And I think one of the kind of overarching questions, whether you're talking about food or moving your body or your relationships with others or your relationship with yourself or finding your life purpose, right, whatever it might be, there's some overarching questions that we can ask ourselves. And honestly, the first one I think that we need to answer is, am I willing to give up the things that are making me sick?
Right.
And whether that's the food that we eat, whether that's the thoughts that we think,
Right.
whether that's the belief that I can't get better, the belief that I don't have time to work out. And by working out, I mean go for a walk with a friend. I can't get rid of that toxic relationship.
Mm.
Are we willing to give up the things that are making us sick? And to really be honest with ourselves.
A lot of us
Go ahead.
addictive. A lot of us
Yeah,
got addictive
yeah,
to negativity. It's such a,
yeah,
if you look at the fairy tales, most children are drawn to negative characters in fairy tales. That's so interesting because it's in our almost like upbringing from the very young age. People, when with somebody is very good, they're like, oh, I'm sick of this goodness, I don't want to, that's so not fun. But
hmm,
when you see somebody like bad, has some powers, negative powers, people are like, oh, that's interesting. People naturally drawn to, like, again, we trained by Hollywood and cartoons and Disney, and just always been going on for thousands, not just hundreds, thousands of years. We've been
yeah.
socially engineered to be drawn to negativity. And I'm not
It's
selling this to,
conditioning.
I'm not selling this to anybody, but at this point of my development, I am trying a vegan diet. Like, this is something that I
Hmm.
just started after being a vegetarian, and I decided to let go of dairy. So I do a lot of lentils and beans and seeds and nuts, and I do a lot of protein, just knowing that I have to substitute the meats with a lot of seeds and nuts and stuff like that. So far it's
Hmm.
working. I'm monitoring myself. I
Hmm.
also grow my own garden, so it helps me with good nutrition. But yeah, people have to be very careful. Just by listen to, oh, veganism is great, you can actually get very skinny and sick. So people have to be very,
Yeah.
I'm not selling this to anybody, but at this point of my development, I'm trying this. I'm like,
Sure.
you know,
And
giving them
that's perfect, you know, but I think that's a big part of healing as well is, so again, we kind of started off with what is the matrix? It's this outside influence,
right.
right? That disconnects us from our inner knowing, our inner wisdom, our inner feeling. And so when we can bring that back into, okay, I'm going to try this thing and see, how do I feel on it? Do I have more energy? Do I feel lighter? Do I feel better? Do I feel more clarity in my thoughts? Do I wake up feeling refreshed and excited for the day? I
Yep.
think that's a big part of the healing process, is starting to be able to go within and what do I need? And what do I need today? Which could be different from yesterday, maybe
Absolutely.
different tomorrow, you
Yeah.
know? So
It's
that's
intuition,
the healthiest thing. It's
it's
intuition.
intuition that, we have to listen to our inner gut. Like, what kind of food do I crave today? What kind of exercise? Like lately, I added up the wheel position, chakrasana,
Oh
the
yeah.
wheel position, and it opens up the spine, because we always slouched forward. So when you move backwards, I was like, oh, why I haven't done it? Like, you sometimes you forget about certain exercises, you just don't do it. I've been doing a lot of headstands in the last few years, which is also a good exercise, but I haven't done wheel. And now I started to do wheel. As, oh, that's so good for my spine. Certain exercises are more powerful than others.
Yeah. And are more powerful for some people than others. When it comes to moving your body, our bodies are designed to move. And people will say, okay, well, now I need to, now I need to start running, or, I have to go to the
Even
gym 3
walk.
times a week.
You don't have to run. Walk
But
is
here's
good. Just
but here's
longer.
the thing that I think is so important, is the attitude with which we do it. If you feel good and happy walking with a friend, do that. If you feel good and happy doing headstands and wheel pose, do that. If you feel good and happy dancing in your living room, do
Yes,
that.
dancing is amazing exercise.
If you feel good and happy singing, maybe that's your exercise. You make every cell in your body vibrate with joy when you sing from your heart. And if
Barefoot
you're
walk.
doing something,
Do you like barefoot
what's
walks?
that?
Barefoot
Barefoot
walks.
walking, yep. Getting your feet on the earth, so important. But if you're doing something because, oh, I have to lose weight, or you're doing something out of guilt or obligation, or you don't really want to be doing it, if you're on a treadmill at the gym under the fluorescent lights and you're miserable, maybe that's not the best exercise.
I remember I was following some black guy on YouTube, and he was saying that climbing a tree with your bare hands and bare feet is one of the best exercise. I haven't done it yet, but I can, well, I've done it when I was a child, but recently I don't have trees around here that are climbable. They kind of chop their lower branches. So, and when you go to the woods, I like to go mushroom foraging, which is also a great learning your forests around you, to learn the berries, mushrooms. It's natural food, which is
totally
so good for us.
Yeah, in most places, well, if you're in a city where it's all concrete and pavement, you may not find so many wild, what people call weeds, can often be extremely nutritious. But if you're any place where you can get into but then the other thing is in an area, maybe it's not paved, but or there's like places off the side of the road, but are they going to have all sorts of exhaust and such over them? The pollution from the cars, and so you got to be careful with where you get some of that stuff. But if you're in the heart of the forest, getting some of those things and then doing it with intention, doing it with the, request and honor. Is it okay if I take this?
It's so interesting. You said request. When I go to the forest, I usually, when I go, I also walk, usually talk to Mother Earth. I ask her, which is, some people say she's not her or he, it's it, Mother Earth is just it. It's has no gender. But I connect to her barefoot and I ask, please give me the mushrooms that I need today. And it's so interesting. Every time I go, it's almost all the time, like some kind of mushroom I never seen before. And then I look it up on the internet. I was like, oh, that's interesting. It's edible. It's healing. Japan is growing them, in plants because it's so healing. And I just found that Mother Earth knows when you need something. It will like, here, come to this tree, you'll find this mushroom, and you need it at this time of your development. So it's very unique experience every time I go. And also tea, I pick up my own teas when I see different flowers and stuff. And by the way, shout out to Sol from Sweden. He got me on wormwood, because I've been collecting it, but I keep it for, I never took it as a tea because I know it's bitter. But he was like, well, try to drink tea from it and see how you feel. It's going to refresh your mouth, the taste, the sense. It actually good against parasites and worms inside your body. So today was a second experiment with this tea. So bitter, so not tasty.
Bitter is really good for you. It's so good for your digestion.
Is it?
Yeah,
but yeah,
so
that's
good.
what I was going to say. I felt amazing after that. I drank it like 3 hours before this talk with you, and I feel so good and refreshed after this wormwood tea. It's not pleasant at all.
Well, it might become, but so that actually is a really good point of another thing that's been conditioned is our taste buds.
Right.
And certainly here in the US, everything has sugar and salt in it. It's,
right.
It revolves around sugar, salt, and fat. Now, I don't think the right fats are actually very healthy for us. We need the right good quality salt for digestion, and our bodies need salt. And sugar, although sugar here and there is not such a bad thing, as long as you don't overdo it. But, a little bit of sweet taste here and there is actually important for overall health. There are 6 flavors in the Ayurvedic tradition.
Yes.
And so we have salt and sugar as the primary ones, and that kind of excludes the others. But then you've also got the pungent, bitter, salt, sweet, and astringent.
Right.
Okay. And so bitter is really, really good for your digestion. And as you change your taste buds, you may actually find that tea to be really, really delicious.
Are you Vata in constitution? Are you Vata or Pitta?
I am some Pitta, mostly Kapha. I have almost no Vata.
So you are fire and water, really?
No, Kapha is earth. I'm fire, and I'm mostly earth with some fire.
Okay.
And a little bit of air.
All right. Because I know that sweet and salty, they are good for skinny people. And I'm looking at you that I thought you were air. So salty and sweet is something that I should be eating more. But recently I'm reconsidering, because I do, kind of indulge in sweet. I have a sweet tooth. But everybody has to learn what their body is and the best way to feed it. And not always our intuition is probably correct on certain things. Sometimes by the way, here's my few days ago episode, like you'd be one of the first people share this. I haven't done chocolate in a very long time. Like I let go of that. It's gone. I have no cravings, I thought. And a few days ago, I decided to exercise my legs, like very fast Kundalini movement. I'm on my back, laying on my back and just kicking the heels into the buttocks. And after 2 minutes, my legs are getting tired, and I started to get this craving. And it was such an interesting craving. It was very sexual in nature. It was like, oh, it was really so good to have some chocolate now. I was observing from the sideline. I was like, who is this? This is not my thought. And then I realized it's probably, I still have, most of us do have some kind of parasites and worms inside, and they actually connect to our DNA. They can send messages to the brain. I want ice cream. I want sweets. And then it's not you. You are feeding them. So maybe it's because of this wormwood tea that I actually started to destroy them and trigger them big time. They're angry.
Put them in survival mode. Survival mode.
So they got such a powerful sexual desire in my head. I was like, holy moly, this is not me. Yeah, it was wow for me. I was really surprised.
So did you have some chocolate?
No.
No. Okay. I was going to say.
No, actually.
I used to. Oh, go ahead.
I don't even keep it now. Like I don't have ice cream in my fridge. It was one of my teachers in New York who told me, if you want to get rid of something in your life, like if you're alcoholic, don't walk near bars, because you might just walk into it. if you don't want to have ice cream or cakes, don't buy it. Don't have it in your place. Completely get rid of it. So every time somebody gives me a chocolate, like my mother gave me a big chocolate bar like 2 weeks ago, I went to the flea market, and this girl who I know, she and her daughter, they love chocolate. I just gave it to her. I was like, here, it was some kind of holiday, 13th of January. 13th of January is the old New Year in Russia. It's a weird calendar.
Interesting.
Yeah, old New Year. So she was very happy with it. And I don't have any kind of seduction in my own apartment. Because once you have it, you think about it. It's like, oh, I have it. And then if the craving is strong enough, you'll go and I've been dealing with this in the last few years. I know how it works. So I usually get rid of all the stuff that I'm trying to stay clear. And that probably can be with alcohol and drugs and all that stuff. It's better to get rid of it if you're not strong enough.
Totally.
So you not have temptation.
Yeah.
So what else is the solution? So gardening, you have your own garden. I know you are growing your own stuff. That's great. And your children are learning now how easy it is to collect your own seeds, like tomato. You just collect the seeds from the best tomato. And then next year you have your own seeds. You don't have to buy seeds. And then seeds have memory for that soil. And the next year they'll grow better in that soil because they have memory. So
totally. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. They go out and they do weeding. They love to help in the garden. And they, my son loves to plant flowers, and then they come up and he feels like this sense of pride of like, hey, I grew this beautiful thing. Look at this.
Nice.
And it's, it's super fun. It's good for the soul as much for the body.
Is water near you? Like, do you go swimming a lot?
Yeah. So I live on a small island, and my last Sunday we went on a hike, and we were with a big group of friends. We went on a hike and went down by the water, and both my children were in the water. Paul was fully dressed, fully clothed, and he made it for about an hour by the ocean, just playing and skipping rocks and hanging out with his friends, and then he couldn't take it anymore and he got in. So he was pretty cold on the way home. But we do polar bear plunges, and they just swim in the ocean. And I'm in the Pacific Northwest, so the ocean is cold here.
Right.
It's 58 to 60 degrees.
But it's refreshing.
And they don't know it's refreshing. They don't know any other water. They just get in and do it. They're like, well, this is what we have to swim in. So they do it. And it's not just like they run in and run out. They'll swim for hours. And then in the summer, we're just on the water all the time.
Do any of you wear sunglasses or practice sun gazing?
So my family has very light skin. I didn't give birth to our children. My partner, because I'm married to a woman, she actually bore the children, right? She gave birth to them, and she has very light skin and light coloring. And so Paul in particular he has very large irises, and they're very, very light. And so he is actually very prone to sun damage from that. I personally, you can see I have dark eyes, so I don't wear sunglasses. I avoid that as much as I can. But for the rest of my family, they are so light that I do think there is an appropriate time for sunglasses and a little sunscreen until they can build up their tolerance to the sun, every summer.
I see.
And that's one of those things where it's like, go ahead.
There's a little easy technique that I just learned a few years ago, and I've been using it. So to ease yourself or your children into sun gazing, you basically, start in the morning or evening, but I can do it in the middle of the day now, like 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. I'll come out
at the sun.
Yeah. What you do, you look at the sun and you start blinking with your eyelids very quickly, like a butterfly wings, like super quickly, rapidly. And then also turn your head left to right. When you do that and you look at the sun as you move your head and you blink, it's so easy. Anybody can do it. Anybody. And then after a while, after 10 minutes or 15 minutes of doing that motion of the head and blinking, your blinking will slow down. Your head motion will slow down. And a few days ago, I did it actually. I was behind the glass because it's so cold now in Belarus. But I'm looking at the sun. turning my head, slowing down, and then I just stare at it. It's like, oh my God, I can comfortably stare without blinking. I was surprised myself. And I got too much sun, I think, on that night, because in the evening, I got a little pain in my eyeballs, like a little bit of sun pain. But the next morning, when I woke up and started to meditate, I was feeling such a happy bliss, because the sun is one of the best healing technique, I think. Sun is healing. Just by going
I agree
with your
100%,
bare skin, going to the beach and getting your clothes off and getting the sun in, even if without, sun gazing, but just getting that sun and absorption, it's a healing. It's the most healing. I felt bliss after that experience. I mean, the eyes were on fire still in the morning. I felt a little pain, almost like I was exercising, which is, I was blinking with my eyelids. But I felt so good, so happy naturally, without any alcohol, without any drugs. Sun makes us happy. Positive thoughts, positive emotions, and then voila, you are happy and healthy. Health is happiness. So sun gazing is very good technique.
I'll have to try that. That's really interesting. I mean, I love the sun. I'm all about the sun. I don't ever wear sunscreen. I don't really wear sunglasses. And that's an interesting technique for the sun gazing. I'll have to give that a try. Yeah,
Yes,
I've always loved the sun.
I did not know about this technique. And when I learned it, it was actually in the book for eyes, to heal your eyes, because sun supposedly, after doing sun gazing for a long time, it will heal even blind people. Like it can heal vision big time. And we are trained to always wear sunglasses, because when you watch Hollywood movies, all these sexy bodies walking around in the sunshine with sunglasses either on or on the forehead. It's Gucci, Dolce Gabbana, whatever this company is, Coach, they want to sell you sunglasses and expensive glasses. We are buying something that is destroying us. Like we're shooting ourselves in the foot and then screaming, ouch, it hurts. And then we're
taking a pill so we don't feel the pain.
Yes, exactly. It's so
and then we can keep shooting ourselves in the foot over and over. I think that's really true. And I also think that there's so much to be said about that. Then you start slathering on the sunscreen, and the chemicals in the sunscreen are what's giving us cancer, not the sun. But that's just another disconnection from nature, another way that we are disconnected from nature outside and also our true nature inside, and it's really very effective. And then, of course, we stare at computers all day, or screens of some sort.
Just biting out
and the
apple.
Blue light. Oh my God. And then the blue light, what that does to our melatonin production is then we don't sleep well, because we're not producing melatonin, because the blue light makes our bodies think that it's daytime, when we should be winding down, getting ready for sleep, but we're still staring at a screen, and that blue light is damaging us.
You just triggered me. I just spoke to my sister, and I love her dearly, but at the same time, her and I, we are not totally opposite, but we're not the same. And she just became a doctor, and she has a huge doctor ego. And when I speak to her, I'm a little bit on my tiptoes, because I don't want to hurt her ego, because she's always looking at me like with this big smile. So what you doing there? Like she's questioning me. I was like, I'm just little me. I'm nothing. I'm nobody. And then she tells me about her story and stuff. So when she told me, I just kept it quiet. Like I asked her, how's her life? So and when you ask people, they will tell. So basically, she's having a cup of coffee in the morning, cup of coffee at lunchtime, and then before she goes to sleep, she's taking this natural melatonin. I was like, all these doctors, of course, they did research. It's a natural melatonin from pharmacy, and I'm thinking to myself, why do you need to take melatonin to fall asleep? But you have to wake yourself up in the morning with a cup of coffee, and then lunchtime another cup of coffee, and then take melatonin to sleep. So I was like, okay, so play with it for the next 10 years and see how it gets you there. It's going to be a
Let's
place.
See how that works for you.
It's not going to work well. It's going to be not happy. But what can I say? I don't have a 7-year of doctoral degree to give advice to my sister, who is a doctor.
I know.
So what you going to do?
Well, that's the belief in. Well, it's like starting to get people to understand that the belief in allopathic medicine is just a belief. How well is it working? I mean,
Yeah.
how is the health of most of the people you know around you? Has it gotten better or worse over the last decades, 30, 40, 50 years? Do you know about the Flexner report? Have you heard of that?
No,
Rockefeller Medicine?
no. I
So
don't pay
back in
attention.
the, do you know what Rockefeller Medicine is? You know that phrase?
Yes. Yep.
So the Flexner report was, I think his name was Albert or Arthur Flexner. Back in the early 1900s, he was commissioned by John D. Rockefeller to do a report on the medical schools at the time in the U.S. And he went around, and there was no uniformity in the medical schools. Right, there was a lot of teaching of homeopathy and alternative medicine, what we now call alternative medicines. That was the only medicine back then. And the Flexner report got Rockefeller to say, and it was commissioned, like Rockefeller knew the outcome that he wanted. And he said, well, we need to change this. I'm going to start giving money to all the medical schools so that they can improve their medical programs. But if you're going to get my money, then you have to teach things a certain way.
Of
And
course.
Rockefeller was yeah, exactly. And Rockefeller was the one who ushered in the idea of petroleum based pharmaceuticals,
Uh,
right? And uniformity in the medical schools, teaching only diagnostics, and if you have these symptoms, here's the medicine that you give out. Like doctors, let's face it, today doctors are mostly um, prescription dispensing algorithms. You
yeah.
put in a certain set of symptoms, they spit out a certain set of medications.
And you're correct. They usually give synthetic pills, and
Synthetic, yep.
they can copy and say all natural, which just means nothing, because when you say natural,
Means
it means
nothing.
from
Yeah.
Earth. But yeah, it doesn't come from
Everything is from Earth.
Mars
Yeah.
or Venus or any other planet. It's all natural. Some poisons are
Mm-hmm.
natural. You will kill you. Some snakes will, you can eat all kinds of mushrooms, but certain mushrooms only one time in your lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
It's all
Mm-hmm.
natural. So of course
Yeah.
they can get away with synthetic drugs. Interesting. So thank you
Yeah.
for bringing this up. Oh,
Yeah. But so, you talk about like, let's see how you'll do in 10 years.
yeah.
It's probably not going to go well. And even if you look at quote unquote natural supplements or any supplements, it still is taking that idea of I need a pill, I need something external to myself to make me better,
Mm,
as
yeah.
opposed to like looking within or
Right.
to the natural world, looking to the sun,
So
looking
now
to
we
the, healthy foods.
also to I have a few more notes, but we can heal ourselves with thoughts and feelings. That's what both of us
Mm-hmm.
probably agree, and most of our viewers probably also. So I have two videos on YouTube, number one and number two. It's the self-healing methods, and one of
Mm-hmm.
them, I think one of them was when you actually take everything off from your body, you become naked, and in front of the mirror or just by yourself, you just touch your whole body, many different parts on your body, and you say to those parts that I love you. I love my eyes, I
Mm-hmm.
love my head, I love my necks, I love my shoulders, I love my, and you just, with that feeling, emotion, your thoughts, you say it, vibration of your sound, you can, if you do that on a regular basis, you can heal your body
Mm-hmm.
just with your
Mm-hmm.
thoughts. And I
Mm-hmm.
also have one
Yep.
more technique of meditation, which is I'm going to share later, but maybe you can share something what in your life worked the best,
Mm-hmm.
like to heal yourself or your family. What are the healing methods and techniques you use in your day-to-day life?
That's a big one. It's been such a progression,
Of course.
over the
Soda,
years.
baking soda, sometimes simple stuff. Baking soda bath with baking soda,
Yeah,
or stomach
yeah.
upset,
I think
vinegar.
the greatest thing for me has been breathing techniques.
All right.
Getting my food dialed in, and that took a little while. I was kind of a chubby kid growing up,
Mm-hmm.
and I was always on a diet. I felt like, and I used to eat a lot of fat-free foods, and that's just pure poison. And
Yeah.
actually, the heaviest I've ever been was when I was on a fat-free diet. So learning that fat is actually healthy fats are actually really, really good for our body, and
Mm-hmm.
eating clean foods, because our fuel is really important. And also, our cells are renewing it depends on the cells. Some cells
Right.
renew every 72 hours, some every 6 months. But
Yes.
the point is, in 7 years from today, your body is going to be a whole new body. You're
Yeah.
going to have a whole new set of cells. So, what are the building blocks by food that you're giving to your cells to recreate your body?
Yeah.
Right? And so when you think about it like that, that to me really helped me to go, oh, wait, I should give my body better building blocks.
Yeah.
Now, again, that goes back to having the self-esteem and sense of self-worth
And breathing,
that
you
you deserve
you
it.
mentioned breathing is the best building block because it's original prana, the energy
Yeah,
for you to sustain yourself. So breathing techniques are really important. And I think there is a war on oxygen. Like if you look at the masks
totally.
and
Yeah.
the car combustion engines, that's also war on oxygen. It's been going on for a very long time.
Hmm.
So
And
yeah,
cutting down
breathe.
of trees, the war on
Yeah,
carbon, all
yeah.
of that is really destroying our oxygen.
So I
But
do
I think,
believe the future is breatharian for humanity, that we just get the
mhm.
sun, a little bit of air, and you're just happy, blissful. You're always blissful because there's no poisonous technologies around us, which is right now we are surrounded by them everywhere.
Mhm. That sounds really enticing, but there's also a part of me that says we came here in a human physical form to experience physicality,
Mhm.
right? If we wanted to just be breatharian and be blissful all the time, not that we need to learn through problems, not that we need to learn through pain and
Mhm.
through conflict, but we came here to experience the world, and the food that we have today is not food, most of it.
Right.
But to be breatharian, I mean, I don't know. I haven't been there, so maybe
Maybe
it
it's
really is that great.
maybe it's a cycle, Regina. Maybe we are, kind of fluctuating. Like we decided collectively, thousands of years ago to experience this
Hmm.
negativity and to be perfect. So
Hmm.
after this passes, because right now a lot of people are getting fed up with this. So maybe we'll go back to breatharian lifestyle, and then we'll go back
Maybe.
to, maybe it's
Yeah.
the cycles on Earth may be going very large, but not to get us into boredom because it's constant flux, constant change.
Yeah.
That's my way of thinking.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. That could very well be possible. I think we can definitely get to a point where people, right now, most of us eat too much. Most of us
Mm.
eat food that is poisoning us,
Hmm.
but I know that feeling of the sweetness of growing a strawberry and eating a
Uh,
sun-ripened strawberry
yeah,
and going out on my back porch and popping some warm cherry tomatoes, perfectly ripe and
nice.
bursting with life and energy.
Yeah, yeah,
And, so I think to me, and there's room for all of it, right?
yeah,
There is room for maybe breatharian is the way. And
yeah,
maybe that joy of bringing life through the earth and
yeah,
growing our own food and bringing together. If you look at this, you talk about tomatoes, you look at it how tiny, 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 tiny a tomato seed is.
yeah,
And you grow that, and within a few months, it grows into this 6, 7, 8 foot tall plant that is putting out these huge, ripe, red tomatoes. And
yes,
that's magic.
it
That's
is.
magic.
Yeah.
And so to experience that magic and then to experience the flavor of the melding of the sun and the earth and the
Mhm.
water and the bees that have pollinated it, and my intention for growing beautiful tomatoes, like I don't I think there's also something to be said for that. And that's not what happens now. Most of it's grown in factories,
I have something to
you
say
know?
about the tomatoes because I'm a little bit of, not to be too cocky, but I'm a little bit proud of myself because this year it's going to be the third year I'm growing the same tomatoes on the same land that
Hmm.
I have. And
Hmm.
summer, my neighbors, which is I'm probably not the only guy, but there's mostly of female neighbors around. It's a collective land with different gardens, but they notice me now. They pay attention, and this lady who
Hmm.
grows tomatoes in this under the plastic, like she, every morning
Hmm.
she opens it up, and I found this Belarusian sort of tomatoes, which is not too high, they're not too large, not too small. It's like a middle, very delicious. And because they now remember the land that I'm planting them and saving seeds myself, now they produce better and better every year. And my a lady neighbor, she noticed it, and she actually asked for a tomato. She's like, I'm gonna do like you next year. I'm not gonna do this plastic anymore, and I'm gonna. So I was like, oh, so it's spreading. You know, when people notice that you do something good, and actually you don't have to have plastic. It's just extra work. You have to open it and close at nighttime, and you know it's too much work. So, and it's such a good sort of tomatoes. So it's really nice.
Yeah, see, and the joy of growing that is, I think, if that's your thing, you know, not everybody wants to grow tomatoes, but
Yeah,
finding whatever your joy is and really going with that, I think that's actually probably the most healing thing is, you know, what brings me joy?
yeah.
And then doing
And I
that,
realized
making that a
peppers.
priority.
I was growing peppers for the last 3 years. I was like, I am not really enjoying peppers anymore. So I was like, this year I'm not gonna grow peppers. I'm gonna grow something else instead of it, because it's just like my gut feeling tells me tomatoes your food. I always feel good after tomatoes, but the peppers I get a little heartburn, and it just it
Yeah,
doesn't resonate with my blood type or whatever I
yeah.
it's inside of my constitution. So all right, so we are coming closer to the end. I have one more technique that I would like to share with you and the rest of the crew who's watching this show. Lately, I'm doing a lot of intuitive work. I started to meditate with interesting technique. So I'm using certain mudra with my fingertips. There is a Prana Mudra and there's a Apana Mudra. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Apana. So prana is when you inhale, you take in, and then apana is exhale, letting go of toxins, letting go of poisonous material, which is, I think most of us, including myself, are full of poisons. So I decided to meditate with apana, which is let's go, and that's on both hands. You connect the thumb with the ring and the middle fingers. So basically, your
So like this.
Yep, your pinky fingers are free and your index fingers are free. And with these two mudras, I'm sitting down in a cross-legged position, or you can do it in a chair if people cannot do cross-legged. And I'm closing my eyes, raising my eyes up into the forehead to stimulate the pineal gland. And I'm visualizing the golden energy entering my crown into the head. It's the energy of the sun or upper frequencies entering into my body, coming into my heart, and then coming out as dark energies into the earth. And she's accepting all the poison that I'm cleansing. And I'm also visualizing the toroidal field, which is like an apple, which is comes into the heart. Heart is the center, which is, by the way, I think we have 8 immortal cells within our heart. 8 first cells from the mother and the father, which is 1 and 1, became 2, became 4, 4 became 8, and those 8 cells are immortal. They have perfect DNA, and then our body can actually copy it again and become immortal eventually in the future. I think all of us will get there. This visualization of the golden light into the head, and then also toroidal field in 3 dimensions: shorter one, bigger one, and a large one far away. And visualizing it's an eternal engine coming into my heart and out of the heart, into my heart and out of the heart, in form of the apple. So with that visual, and also Kichari Mudra, which is, some people can watch my videos about Kichari Mudra. Whichever stage you are, first, second, third, or fourth, it doesn't matter. You can stimulate within the mouse, that dot, and the combination, I've been getting really, really good results. Something is really changing on biological and chemical way. Super, super good. So this is my, recent technique of healing the body. I think most people will benefit from it, because we have a lot of toxins, and visualization is also a big key.
Yeah,
so
that's huge. Well, I think the toxins, and the other thing that I think is a really big really big issue for a lot, and probably everyone on the planet, is the trauma. We've all been traumatized,
Oh yeah.
and that trauma lives in our cells. And so that that meditation sounds like a really great way to start visualizing that trauma leaving your cells, leaving your body. I mean,
Yes.
that's another thing, is getting to the point. I had to start with food. Okay, well, what am I eating? And that was a good starting point for me. For some people, it might be the breathing, it might be the meditation, but
Right.
for all of us, getting the toxins and the trauma out. I
Yeah.
think those are the two biggest underlying health issues that we all face, are the toxins and the trauma.
Yeah.
And everything we've talked about is traumatic, from the electromagnetic frequencies to the food to the medicines. That's all trauma to our bodies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have a few videos on YouTube, and plan to start uploading some more on also meditations to help people move the trauma out of their bodies,
Yeah.
breathing techniques. To one that I used very successfully was called the central channel clearing,
Mhm.
which is an energy technique where you have your fingers at the top of your head, and then you move the fingers down through the points of the central column, and visualize each of those areas
Mm.
in different ways, and what's living there, what's living in my heart, what blockages are in my throat. Most of us don't feel comfortable speaking our truth.
Yeah.
So how do
Yeah.
we move that out? So there's all sorts of different modalities, and I just really encourage people to find something that works, and realize that what works today, or what works for a week or a month or 10 years, may change, and that's okay. Like, that's a sign of progress. And don't be afraid to try new things, even if it feels a little like, oh, I got to do this. Even if it
Mhm.
feels funny, give it a try and see how you feel. You might wake up tomorrow feeling
Absolutely.
blissful and
Nice.
great.
That's our
And it
goal.
might take time. That's okay too. Yeah, that's our
Yeah.
goal.
The goal is to have positive thoughts in the future, positive feelings in the future. And there's a range. You have
Hmm.
many different kinds of positive thoughts and many different kinds of positive feelings. And
Hmm.
yeah, I'm very excited about the future. I think what is happening right now, it's going to really shape being asleep,
Hmm.
who's really been like indoctrinated into don't think for yourself, trust the authority, trust the books, because everybody's like, oh, if I read it in the book, it must be true. Like, oh, if I saw it on TV, it must be true. Oh, if I saw it on the internet, it must be true. Question everything, be playful,
Hmm.
be
Yep.
unpredictable, walk around the obstacles. There's so many different ways to walk around the obstacle in front of you. You can go around the right side, left side, you can jump over it, you can dig under
Hmm.
it, or you can
Yeah.
plow through it like a tank. Sometimes you have to do that. you know,
Or you can just move it out of the way and walk right through, easily. Like,
yeah,
it's maybe that's a way too.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely always question everything and think for yourself, and find out what works for you. And that's the point. That's the point of becoming your own individual,
Nice.
your
Any
own
last
self-thinking
any
person.
last thoughts? Because I think we've gone over an hour. Any last thoughts that
Yeah.
you'd like to add to this conversation?
Um, I just really wish for everyone to get to the point where they know what's best for themselves. I think that's the world
Yeah.
that where everybody is doing what's best for themselves, know what's best for themselves, and honors what's best for other people without trying to force them into their vision of what the world should be or how others should act. When you get that sense of confidence in, this is what's right for me, and it's okay if it's not for you, and it's okay if what's right for you is not right for me,
Right.
and then we can all really live together, and it would be a much more peaceful and happier world. So that's my hope
Very well
going
said.
forward.
All right. So thank you so much, Regina, for joining me today, for bringing so much to this conversation to the table. It was a pleasure. I think we covered so many things, and many people can benefit
Mm.
from our, solutions to our day-to-day problems, different
Yeah.
techniques.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Thank you all for
Yeah.
watching
Thank
this.
you. This has been great. And I hope we'll do it again soon.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see each other again. You stand online. I'm going to
Okay.
press the stop. And by the way, press a like, subscribe, comment. It's always appreciated. Next time. Much love to all of you.
Okay. Bye bye.